Good afternoon to you. I'm Jan Markowitz. You're listening to God at Work. My guest today is Wendy Blight. You had some confusion and anger in your life because of a random act of violence that changed your life forever. Could you tell us that story?
Yes. I had just a few days after my college graduation, and I walked into my apartment, and when I walked in and walked up the stairs, there was a masked man waiting at the top of the stairs. He wore leather hunting gloves and was carrying a very large knife with a thick blade, and he just grabbed me. And initially, I really thought it was a joke. It just seemed so surreal. But I knew right away the way he treated me that, he was there for other purposes and was not a joke. And at first he walked me down the stairs, so I felt like maybe he was just hiding from police or wanting money or something, but it became quite apparent after he had me lock every door downstairs and close every blind and took me back upstairs to my room that he was there to do harm. And
he actually had you at knife point.
He did. And it was, the feelings of pain and humiliation and shame were so overwhelming. And the way I describe it when I reached that point of just knowing that I was a captive and I had no escape is that I just remember I felt like I was coming out of my body, and it just seemed like everything within me just died. I can't explain it, but it was just a sense of loss and just like I wasn't there in the room, even though I was.
I can't imagine. That had to be such a frightening and horrible experience for you. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And,
Thank you.
And how did that affect you? How did it affect your life?
Well, initially, the way I describe it is I entered into a prison of fear, pretty much. I lived every day after that. I woke up every day, and the only thing important in my day was to make sure I was never alone, and I manipulated everything and everyone to control that. I could not stay alone. I wouldn't shower by myself. Someone had to be with me in the bathroom while I took a shower. I didn't want to climb a set of stairs. I wouldn't go in an empty room. I wouldn't ride in an elevator where I might be stuck alone with a man. So I would say the biggest thing was fear controlled me. I was obsessed with finding who this person was, but had no idea because he was masked. And also, I was just physically sick because I was constantly in a state of anxiety, and I went to the hospital with panic attacks. I was exhausted from no sleep because if I slept, I had nightmares, so I'd rather stay awake. So that was for months. But for years, I lived with that sense still of I wouldn't spend the night alone by myself. I wouldn't be in the elevator alone with a man. I wouldn't be in a room alone with a man other than my husband. And so I lived in that prison of fear for over a decade. It just wasn't as extreme as in the beginning.
Could you share how you overcame that? How you came to terms with it, with God? I mean, were you angry at God? Did you ask why did you allow this, God? Try to make sense out of all this?
Absolutely. My first questions were not to God at first because I didn't have a real close relationship with God. I grew up Catholic. I had gone to church and did all the confirmation and communion. So at first, I was more just trying to fix myself. So I went to counseling. I went to the doctor and got prescription medication. But when none of those things worked, I remember that there were many Christian people. I had gone to Baylor University, which was a Christian school, had put these scriptures or said words to me. And I took a lot of those things, and I remember one day, I was on vacation with my family in Florida, and I remember sitting in the bathroom on the floor crying, and I just said, okay, God, all these people are telling me you have a plan and a purpose for my life, that you turn everything for good, that you love me. And I just remember saying, if you do, then you have to show me, because right now I'm angry with you. I don't understand why you did this. And I literally hate you for what you allowed to happen to me. And it was in that just crying out to God that he just began to just minister to me through people, through his word, and it took years. I'm talking over a decade. But walking along, he was so faithful to just be that when you seek me with all your heart, you will find me. And it was mostly through his word, through just sitting with his Bible, no counseling, no drugs, just me and God, that he began to show me his character. And in showing me his character, I knew that he did allow this for a purpose. And now it is the passion of my life to share what he taught me.